Hey everyone, and welcome to this new WordPress Advanced Custom Fields, Custom Post Types and Taxonomies tutorial. Now, if you're new to these terms, fear not, because I'll be breaking them down into bite-sized chunks and showing you how to use the tools to create a more customized and functional WordPress site. Are you ready? Then let's get started. So first things first, let's talk about what I'll be covering and what the terms actually mean. So first up, we have Advanced Custom Fields, or ACF. Now this is a WordPress plugin that lets you add custom fields to your WordPress editing screens and a lot more. Next up, we've got meta fields. Now these fields can hold all kinds of data like text, images, and even references to other posts, website addresses, and so much more. Then we have custom post types, or CPTs. These are a way of creating your own types of content in WordPress. Now WordPress comes out of the box with post types like posts, pages, and attachments, but you can create your own to handle any type of content. Then we have taxonomies. These are a way of grouping content in WordPress. Categories and tags are taxonomies that come built into WordPress, but you can create your own. Then we're going to take a look at displaying everything. So once you understand the terminology used, the next thing we must need to look at is how to display that new content. Now next you might be asking yourself, why would you want to use these features? Well, they allow you to make your WordPress site more bespoke, and they can make your life so much easier as a developer. So for example, you might use custom post types to create a job listing section on your site with custom fields for job title, description, and application links, and all those kinds of good things. Next up, let's take a look at how we start using everything. So the first thing you want to do is install the Advanced Custom Fields plugin to get started with all these features. Now you can do this from your WordPress dashboard, and that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So simply head over into your dashboard, and from there come into the plugin section and click Add New. Next we're going to search for Advanced Custom Fields. Let's install it and then activate it. And now we have Advanced Custom Fields installed as part of our WordPress setup. If we take a look on the left hand side, you can see we've got a new entry called ACF. Advanced Custom Fields. Now I'm going to be using the free version for all of this tutorial because there's more than enough inside here for most use cases. But if you want to check out what the pro version offers, I'll link that in the description so you can take a look at the extra features and if you actually need them for whatever you're working on. So once ACF is installed, we can now create a custom post type, and that's where we're going to start. Now for our example, we're going to set up a new custom post type called job, and we're going to use this to create a really simple job listing. But this is just scratching the tip of what you can do with ACF and all of the options this opens up to you. Now to add a custom post type in, all we need to do is head over to ACF and choose the post types option. Once we're inside there, we can now create our post type. So let's do just that. Click Add Post Type. And this will give us all of the options. Now, there's two ways in which we can work with ACF. We can keep it really simple and just put in the most basic of information. And if you're just starting out, that might be more than enough for what you want to do. But you can also use the advanced configuration. And I'm going to show you both ways of working. So first of all, we're going to give this a plural label. So we're going to call this jobs. The singular is job. And the post type key will automatically be created for us. Now, this is what you will see to organize your custom post types. So you have your domain, mydomain.com/job. And that's where you're going to find all of your new listings and things like that. Again, I'll show you this as we go through. Taxonomies, we haven't created any of these yet, but you can see that we've got the standard normal WordPress ones available to us, categories and tags and so on. We're going to leave those as they are. We can create taxonomies a little later. Next up, we can choose the most basic of information. Do we want to make this public? Yes, we do. We want people to be able to see it on our website. Do we want to make this hierarchical? Do we want to have this so we can have sort of like parent and child elements? So for example, you may have a job type under a certain department, for example, media or advertising. And then inside there, you may have different job roles that are sub-job roles. And you can use a hierarchy to create a nice logical way of grouping all things together. I tend to like to enable this because it just makes life a little bit easier in organizing using the normal WordPress dashboard. But you don't have to if you don't want to. And we could, if we wanted to, simply hit Save Changes and we would be done. We would create our new custom post type. But let's take a quick look in the advanced configuration. Now, don't be put off by this thinking there's going to be things inside here that are going to be really complex. Yes, sure, there are some things, but we can leave those at their default values. So there's a couple of things I just want to explain so you get an understanding of how you can customize your custom post type in the WordPress dashboard. Now, first up, we've got the General tab, and this is going to allow us to enable or disable standard default features that you're used to inside the post section and probably inside the pages section of WordPress. Things like the title of the post or page, the editor, which is where you can put the content, and things like the featured image. So these are enabled by default, but you can, if you want to, disable them if you need to. We're going to leave all those enabled. But if you wanted to add extra things inside here, like author, excerpts, custom fields, comments, revisions, and so on, you could do that as well. And if you want to add a description in, you can do that. So let's just add a simple description. We'll just put in current job vacancies, and I'll show you where this displays once we've created our custom post type. It's useful if you're using this kind of setup to actually share with other people inside your company, or you created it for a client. This is just a nice little visual prompt that says what this particular post type is all about. You can use it or you can ignore it. Next up, we can hop over to the labels section. Now, when you go into anywhere inside WordPress, for example, you come to posts, you'll see you've got things like all posts, add new, categories, and so on. These are basically the labels that are default, and you have default labels whenever you create any kind of custom post type. But if you want to override these with your own ones, you can do that inside the labels section. I'm going to leave these as they are, but if you want to, you can easily come in and customize this to get exactly what you want to display. Pretty cool. Next up, you have the visibility option, and this is where you can choose a couple of useful things for how your new custom post type is going to be displayed inside the dashboard. So first of all, do you want to show this inside the UI? In other words, is it going to be shown up inside the dashboard itself? Yes, we want to do that. Show in the admin menu. This is at the top section here. Do you want to have the ability to add new, in this example, jobs? Well, we can choose that and set that left to yes, and we'll enable it. The admin menu parent, we don't need to worry about that, we'll leave that. If you want to adjust the position where it displays on the left hand side, you can do that inside here. I'll leave that as it is for now, but you can always come back in and input a value if you find it doesn't go where you want it to. If you want to add in a dash icon, you can do that very easily. So let's go ahead and take a look at how we do it. You can see we've got this dash icon class name. Let's click to open that up in a new tab. And this now shows us all these different kind of dash icons that we can use. So we want this for jobs. So let's just say we're going to use something really simple like this users icon. We'll select it, and you'll see we get this little piece of code that says dash icons, dash admin, dash users. Let's copy that. Let's hop back over into WordPress, and we're simply going to paste that inside there. Now when we create our custom post type, it'll have our own custom icon that we've selected from dash icons. Totally free and super easy to do. We're going to leave everything else in here as it is. Next up, you've got your URLs. If you want to change things inside here, you can do that very easily. The only thing we need to include is this option for archive. If we don't do that, we can't create a list of all of our new jobs, and that will make it a bit of a problem. So we'll enable that feature, and other than that, we're going to leave it as it is. We don't need to fill anything else out. Then you've got your permissions, which we're going to leave exactly as it is. And finally, you've got the REST API, which is way beyond what I want to cover in this video, and something you really don't need to worry about at this point in time. So, okay, we've done everything we want, and you see we've changed a few things using the advanced configuration. Let's hit Save Changes. And now you can see that's saved. If we take a look on the left-hand side, there's our new job section using the icon we've just created. And inside there, we've got all jobs and we've got add new. So it's really simple to set things up. You'll also notice at the top, we now get this little green pop-up that allows us to do some of the things we may want to do next. It's very common when you create a custom post type that you want to create custom taxonomies or assign custom meta fields to it. We're going to do all of these things as we go through this tutorial. Just so you know though, they are there if you want them, but you can also access those on the left-hand side underneath the ACF menu. For now, we'll leave those. Let's just simply hop over into the new job section. And you see this now shows us a really basic layout. We can add a new job in, and you see we can have the job title and the date, and that's basically all we have. If we open up add new, this simply looks exactly the same as any other post type you create inside WordPress. Your title, your content, your featured image. It's going to operate in exactly the same way as you're used to when it comes to working with standard WordPress post types. So next up, we'll create some custom fields for our new job post type. Now, this is very easy to do. We can add extra fields in things like the description or the application link, anything we kind of want to do. And for that, we're going to use custom meta fields. So let's take a look at how we do that now inside ACF. So once again, we're going to come over to the ACF section on the left-hand side, but this time we're going to choose the option for field groups. Now, field groups are a way of creating one or more meta fields. Now, meta fields are basically things like your title, your description, your featured image. They are built-in standard meta fields, but we can create custom ones. That's exactly what we're going to do here. All we need to do is add new. We've got to give this a name, so we're going to call this job details. Once we've done that, we now have some options underneath. And this is where we start to create these meta fields. Now, if we expand this first option out where we can choose the field types, you can see there's an awful lot of options. Some are pro, and you can see they're grayed out. We can't access those, but there's more than enough inside here to do most things. And as you can see, there's an awful lot of options. And I can't cover all of those in this example, but we're going to take a look at some of the basic ones. So you can either access those and choose what you want by simply using this select field, or you can click on the browse fields option to open up a nice user interface that has a simple pop-up that gives us a little bit more information about any of the field types that we have. You see things are grouped across the top. We've got popular to start off with, some of which are pro. You can jump over to basic, content, choice, relation, and so on. If we choose something like basic, you can see inside there, if we choose any of these, for example, this text area, it will give us some more information over on the right-hand side and a link to the documentation, which allows us to find out exactly how this all works and how we can start to use it in various different ways. So all the settings available, all those things. So if you're ever wondering how or what something does, you can simply use that option to jump over into the documentation. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in a couple of fields. So first of all, we want to put a number in because we want to put the salary that's associated with this job role. So all we need to do is select number from the list. We can come to the bottom where it says field label and we'll put in salary. We'll click on select field and we've now created our first custom meta field. You'll see the field label has been inserted and the field name has automatically been populated for us. And we could, if we wanted to, simply basically leave that field as it is. However, we do have some more options. We can jump into validation. We can make sure this is a required field. So we'll say, yes, we want to enable that. Do you want to put minimum or maximum values in? In this example, doesn't make a lot of sense, but it's there if you need it. You can hop over into presentation, and this is where you can do things like you can add some instructions in to help anybody that's filling out this information to know exactly what any particular field is needed for. Now for this example, let's put one in just so you can see. If you want to put some placeholder text in, you can do that, and that'll put a pre-filled number in this example into that input field. If you're using step sizes, you can use that inside here. And then we can choose to prepend or append any values we want. So for this example, let's put a pound inside the prepend so people know that they're working with a monetary value. If you want to, you can also set the width for this field. So let's say we want to make this something like 33%. Then you've got your conditional logic. Now, conditional logic is useful if you want to show or hide fields based upon the value of a different field. So for example, if you had a checkbox that says, is this a voluntary role? And the checkbox was yes, then you could disable the option for inputting a salary because it wouldn't make sense. That's where you can use conditional logic. Again, these are things that we don't need to worry too much about in this example, but it's very, very easy to work with. And if you need it, it's there. Finally, once we've kind of set up all the fields we want, and we'll come back to that a couple more in a moment, you've then got the settings option. Now this allows us to choose exactly where and when this new field group and any of the associated custom meta fields will be used inside WordPress. You can see by default it says the post type is equal to post, so we would automatically add any of these custom meta fields in this group to the normal post type, which is not what we want. So what we need to do is change this from post type is equal to, and we'll change that over to our option for jobs. So we'll just choose job from there, and you can see that's now added that in, and we can say add another rule if you want to add a second one in, or we can change any of these inside here. So you can see there's an abundance of different types of places that you can use these custom meta fields and meta field groups. If you want to learn more advanced options with this, let me know in the comment section down below, and we can take a look at creating some more advanced options to show you more about what you can do with ACF. For now, let's leave it as this really basic setup. Then you've got presentation. This is where you can customize how you're going to actually display the content inside the WordPress editor, inside your custom post type, or any way you're going to associate these meta fields. And finally, you've got your group settings where you can choose some additional options. We're going to leave everything there as it is. Okay, so now we've set up where it's going to be used. We've added a salary field in. Let's go ahead and add a couple of extra fields in so we can see some more field types we can start to use. Let's go ahead and add a new field type. From there, we're going to use the browse fields and we're going to choose an option for choice. And inside there, we're going to choose select. We'll check that from there and we're going to say location. Now this is going to allow us to have a simple select field. So we'll say select that field. And now what we can do is we can go ahead and fill out those choices. So everything is pre-filled for us. We just need to input our choices. So we're going to say we've got a couple of offices. So we can say there's one in London. And when it comes to your choices, you can set this up in a couple of different ways. We could leave it as it is now just by having London, but you may have a different value that's been displayed on the actual dashboard itself and what you want to save as your data. So if you want to do that, you can simply put a space and a full colon, and then you can put your second value. So we can say something like that. It doesn't really matter. For this example though, we're going to set it back to just be London for both, and we'll repeat this a couple of times. And there we go. We've now inserted the values we want to use. Then you've got your default value. So you can say, next up, you then got the return format, how you want to actually output this information. You've got your value, which is your first value you can see inside here, which would be London in this case. Your label, which is the second value, which again is London, but if you had a different label to the actual value, they could be listed inside here, or you went to actually output both of them in an array. We're going to leave this set up to be value because it doesn't really matter which one we choose. And if you want to allow people to select multiple values, you can do that from here. Again, you've got the options then for validation. Do you want to allow people to have no value in there at all, or is it something they have to choose? So we can say this is a required field and we don't want to allow them to not choose something. And again, you've got your presentation. So you can see we've got stylized UI, we've got instructions. Everything has more information underneath it. Again, we're going to set this to be 33%. And we don't need to worry about conditional logic. Now, the third and final field we're going to put in allows us to upload a field as part of this that then the end user could download, which could be the application form. So we'll add one more field. Again, we're going to choose browse fields, which is the option for file. We're going to just put this as application form, select our field, and then we can set up any values we want inside here. So we've got the return value where we're going to say we want the file URL. So it makes it that it's easy to see that anyone can download this from the front end, and I'll show you how to do that. Then we've also got the library and we've got upload to post. In other words, do you want any images or files to be uploaded so anybody can access them as part of the normal media library in WordPress? Or do you want to upload this only to this post so it's not accessible to other people? In this example, it makes sense to upload it only to the post. And again, we've got validation. And as before, we can set this as required. We can also set up the minimum and maximum file sizes. We can say we don't want it to be any smaller than 1 megabyte and we don't want any bigger than 10 megabytes. And then we're going to say we only are going to allow PDF documents or Word documents. And that's going to restrict us. If anybody tries to upload something like an image file or something else, they can't upload it. Presentation, again, we can set this to what we want. We'll leave everything inside there and we don't want to worry about conditional logic. And once we're done with that, we've now completed our custom fields we're going to associate with our new jobs role. So what we're going to do is click on Save Changes, and now we've created our first field group and associated that with our new custom post type. So let's hop over into Jobs. Let's say All Jobs, and now if we click to Add New, you'll see we have some additional fields: salary, location, an application form to upload a file. So everything we need is now located inside the dashboard in our new custom post type. So the final thing we're going to need to do is allow us to organize things into a logical fashion. To do that, we're going to use taxonomies. So let's head over again into ACF. This time we're going to choose taxonomies. We'll click Add New, and we're going to give this a plural label of job departments, singular label of job department, and we'll leave that as it is. Select our post type. What do we want to associate this new taxonomy with? Well, it's with our jobs. So let's choose the job from there. There we go. And again, we've got some options. And again, we can keep this to the simple version, or we can delve in a little deeper into advanced configuration. So again, we want to make this hierarchical because, like I've said, we want to organize this in multiple different ways where we might have an overarching sort of department, and inside there you have sub-departments. It makes sense to have hierarchical. Let's hop over now into advanced configuration. And you can see inside here, we've got some more options. Again, we've got the ability to make this active, add a description in. Do we want to allow sort terms? Yes, we do. It makes life a little bit easier, so we can sort those based upon the terms for the taxonomy. Coming to labels, again, we can, if we want to, change any of the labels inside here, or we can just leave them at their default values, which in most cases is perfectly fine. Visibility, Again, we want to show this in the UI and in the admin menu. We also want to show an admin column so we can start to see at a simple glance inside the job section what department any job role is going to be associated with. Again, tag cloud, quick edit are all perfectly fine, so we want to access those. We don't need to worry about the URL. We will set the hierarchical, and we don't need to worry about the REST API. So we can click Save Changes, and that has now set things up. Now, as we've seen before, when we created our custom post type, we get this new section at the top with a couple of quick links inside there, which we can use to add fields to the job department and so on. So if you need additional fields, you can do that. We just want to use this for organizational purposes, so we're going to leave those. But if we come over to jobs now, you'll see we have a new option that says job departments. So this is our new taxonomy. So we click to open that up. You can see we can now go ahead and add in any kind of taxonomy that we want for the job department. So this is exactly the same as you've seen when you're working with tags or categories that are part of the normal WordPress posts. So let's do that. Let's add a couple in. Let's add one in for marketing. All we need to do is click on Add New. And you can see there's our marketing. If we want to add a description, we could do that. You'll also see we've got the parent job department. So let's say we wanted to add something to marketing. So we could just say advertising, for example. And we can say that this is linked to our marketing. And we'll add a new job role. And you can see that's now indented. So we now have this hierarchical setup. So marketing is the parent. Then we've got this advertising, which is a child. If you want to change that, we can simply edit this. And we can take that from there and say none. And say advertising is actually its own department. And you see now we have that set up like so. So you can add as many inside here and use whatever hierarchy that you actually want to use. And now if we go back to all jobs, you'll see we get this job department. So this already inserted in here so we can easily see what department any new role that we add in is going to be listed in. So let's go ahead and add in some basic content so you can see how this will start to populate. So let's go and add a new job in. We'll give this a title. We'll add in a description. We'll just use a fill of text for now. We'll go ahead and we'll add a featured image. We'll choose this one. We'll come to our job departments and we'll set this to be marketing. But you can, if you want to, add extra fields inside here. Our salary, we'll set that up. We'll say the office is Cardiff and we can upload our application form. I'll just use this one for now. We'll click on select and we've set everything up that we need. So we're going to go ahead, click on publish. Click publish one more time, and there's our marketing manager all set up. You can hop back out of here and you can see there's our marketing manager, tells us which department and the date that it was published. If we want to come in and quick edit this, you can see we can add our job department and anything else we set up to be quick editable inside our meta fields and so on will be accessible inside here as well. So we've now seen how to create our custom post type, how to create custom meta fields and group those together and add them to our custom post type. We've also seen how to create taxonomies and how to associate everything together to make it a one cohesive way of setting up our job listings. Now, the next thing you're probably wondering is, how do we go about actually outputting this to display it on our website? Now, there are lots of different tools you can use. If you don't want to use anything, you can get stuck in and start using ACF itself. However, that's beyond the scope of what I can cover in this video. I will show you, though, how we can do it with GenerateBlocks. But you could easily use Bricks Builder, you could use Divi, you could use Elementor. There's tons of different tools you can use to start accessing and displaying your custom data. So let's take a quick look at how we can access that using GenerateBlocks. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a template for our job archive, and then we're going to set up all the data that we need in that particular template. So how do we do it? What we're going to do is we're back in the dashboard and we're going to come into Appearance, and from there we're going to come down to the option for Elements. Now inside GeneratePress, elements are basically templates. So if you're used to working with something like Elementor or Bricks, they've got a different way of accessing this, but you're effectively doing the same kind of thing. You're creating templates. So we're going to add a new element. We're going to choose the option for a block and we're going to click on Create. First thing we're going to do is say what element type this is. Now this is going to be the loop. In other words, this is where we're going to see all of our individual job roles, and then we can click and find out more details. So what we're going to do is we're going to change the element type in this example to a loop template. And then we're going to say where we want this loop template to be used. So we come into the location at the bottom, and we're going to scroll through until we find our new jobs and job archive. And we're simply going to choose the option for job archive. And we have basically set up the basics. Now we can create the design. So first of all, let's just go and give this a name. We're going to call this job loop. Then we're going to click on the plus, and we're going to go ahead and add in a container. This is using the Flexbox. So again, very similar to what you can do using Bricks or Elementor or any of those kinds of tools. So we're going to add our container with an inner container. And if we expand our list view, you can see that's exactly what we've got. So we've got our main container, full width, and we've got our content container sitting inside it. So we'll select our container, we'll click on the plus, and from there, we're going to just choose the option for query loop. Then we can choose what kind of starting point. If we want to start blank, we could do that. But for this example, let's choose the 2-column and featured image. It's kind of close to what I want to use anyway. Okay, so this will now pull in the basic layout for us. And if we expand the query loop out, you can see how things are broken down. This again works in a very similar way to working with tools like the loop builder inside Elementor and also inside Bricks. It'll show you all of the output, but you effectively create the first template, and that's going to be the kind of template structure that's going to be used for all of the individual kind of elements. In example, the jobs. Now at the moment, this is showing us the sort of standard post. So what we're going to do, just so we can set things up correctly, is change the post type over to our custom post type, which is jobs. But we will come back at the end and set this to inherit the query from the template. Okay, so what we can see is this has pulled in a starting point. If we take a look at the list view, we've got an image, which is our featured image. We've got our post title, the date that it was posted, and the post excerpt. Now it says post excerpt not supported for this type, but it will automatically populate that information for us. So what we're going to do is we're going to add in some additional custom fields that we've created. So we want to put in our salary, we want to put in the location, and we want to put a button so we can click to download the application form that we've created and uploaded. So the easy way to do that is to come over to our first template, and we're going to come underneath the post excerpt. We're going to click in there, and we're going to say insert after. And for this, we're going to put in our button. We're going to start with probably the most complex one. So we're going to change this over to a button. So we'll just do a search for button. We're going to be using the native GenerateBlocks buttons. So we'll select that. We'll add a little bit of spacing on this. So we'll set a little bit of margin at the top, something like 25 pixels. Now, I'm not going to worry about styling everything. You can set things up the way that you want them to look to be in keeping with your design. I just want to show you the functionality. So we'll say download. Okay, so that's our standard button. So what we're going to do now is we're going to come over to the right-hand side, and we're going to say enable dynamic data. We'll select it, and then we've got some options. We've got the data source, current post is perfectly fine. We're going to leave that as it is. The content source, we're going to leave that as well, because if we change that to something else, it'll replace where we've got the text download application form with whatever we kind of set in there dynamically. What we want to set is the link source. So we'll click to expand that, and we're going to choose the option for post meta. This allows us then to reference any kind of meta fields that we've created using ACF or tools like it. So let's hop over to a new tab. Let's come into ACF and into our field groups, and we're going to open up our job details. And one of the nice things we have when working now with the updated version of ACF, all we need to do is come over this name, which is the kind of name that's been associated with this custom field. We'll click on it, and that will copy that to our clipboard. Simple as that. Now we can come back over, we can click where it says post meta field and choose, and you can see no options. And all we are going to do is do Control or Command V and paste in that application form. The reason I do this is because it removes any potential spelling mistakes or consistency errors that we may have that'll cause things not to work correctly. All we need to do now is click on the enter or return, and that's now set that for us. We can also set the link type. Now, default will default to a standard URL type link, which is what we are going to use. But if you were using this with an email field or a telephone number field, you could set it to the relevant information inside there, and then that will create the correct type of link. That means when you click on the email, it'll open up your email client. Or if you click on telephone, it'll ask you if you're on a phone, if you want to dial that number. Just makes for a sort of nice use case and scenario. We'll leave it set to default. We'll also set the option to say remove block if link is empty. So if for any reason this is not a mandatory field and someone hasn't input an uploaded file, then no button with no link nothing will appear. It'll be hidden. So it's a nice little way of doing things. So let's go ahead now and just publish this before we go and create the extra fields, just so I can demonstrate how this all works. We'll hit publish, and that's now saved that template for us. Let's head back over into WordPress. We're going to come into Appearance, come down to the option for menus, and inside there, we're going to add in a custom link. So what we're going to do is we want this to point to that job's custom post type. So if you remember, when we set things up, we gave this a slug of job. Let me just quickly show you what I'm talking about. Come back to ACF, and we're going to come into our post type. Take a look inside there. We expand this out. You can see there's our post type key. That's what we need to use for the link to work. So all we're going to do is come back up to our menus. We're going to add in a custom URL. So we're going to do a /job and another /. This means it doesn't matter what URL we're using, what sort of domain, anything like that. It will add on job at the end of it. And we'll just simply put vacancies for the link text and add that to our menu structure. Hit save menu. And now if we come back and take a look at our site, we have a new entry called vacancies. We'll click on it, and that will then take us in to show us our vacancies. And you can see everything that we've just set up is set inside here. If we go to the download, you can see that will now download the PDF for us, and the same for the next one and the next one. So let's go in now and address how we add in those extra fields for things like the salary and also the job location. So like we've done before, we're going to come in after post excerpt. We're going to say insert after. We're going to click the plus, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to add in a heading, or headline I should say, which is one of the native features that we have as part of GenerateBlocks, and this just gives us more control over things. We'll change this over to a div, so it's not using any kind of normal headlines or anything like that, and we'll just pop in the dynamic data that we want. First of all, let's go and add a little bit of spacing. So like we've done before, we'll put a margin of 25, and what we're going to do is we're going to add in some more dynamic data. Come over, we'll enable dynamic data, and from there we're going to leave current post. Again, that's still perfectly fine. This time we're going to choose the content source. So we'll expand that, and like we did before, we're going to choose post meta, like we did for the link, and then we've got to choose the meta field. So you can see, again, nothing is listed inside here. So we come back over to our ACF. We can simply come over to salary. We'll copy it, head back over, click inside there and paste it, and then click add salary. We can contract that now, and we're going to just simply go ahead and duplicate this, and we're going to change that value from salary. So we'll expand our dynamic data. We'll delete the salary option from there. Again, come back over to our ACF fields, choose location, and we'll click to copy that from there. Come back over, paste it in, add location, and we have done that. Let's update, hop over and refresh our page. And you can see we now have the location and the sort of salary in there. But obviously they mean nothing at the moment, so we need to put in something before those. So what we can do is we can simply come back in. We'll choose the salary field. We'll say insert before. We're going to add in another headline. Again, we're going to set this the same as before, set this to a div. But this time we're not going to use dynamic data. We're simply going to put the term salary, colon, and a pound sign. And now what we can do is we can just simply make this bold so we can style it the way we want. Again, we're going to add a little bit of space. So we'll come into our margins, 25, same as everything else. But now what we can do is we can come into our layout and we can set the display on this to be inline flex. We'll come down to our salary field and we'll do the same. Change our default into inline flex. And now you can see they close up against each other. And now that lines both of those up. So we can do the same thing underneath now for the location. So we'll just click, we'll add insert before, do the same again. So we'll just select this. We'll say we want to put a headline in. We'll set this to be a div. We'll put some spacing on there. And we're going to put the term location in. And we'll just make that bold as well. And like we've done before, we're going to set that to be display inline flex. Location, inline flex. Now we take a quick look. You can see now everything is lined up the way that we expect it to be. Our application form button is available. Our salary, our location, all of the dynamic data that we've created has all been added into our template. And we can repeat the same process for any of the other templates we want. So if we want to take a look at the individual job role itself, we can click inside there, customize the template, add in the dynamic data just like I've shown you, and you are pretty much good to go. Now, before we wrap up, here are some best practices to keep in mind. Only create a new custom post type if your content really doesn't fit into the standard post or pages. Creating too many custom post types can make your site difficult to manage and a little bit cluttered. Number 2, use clear, descriptive names for your custom fields and taxonomies. This will make your life easier when you're developing your site. 3, always consider how your custom fields and taxonomies will be used by the end user. If a field isn't necessary or could be confusing, it's best just to leave it out. Well, there you have it, a beginner's guide to advanced custom fields, custom post types, and taxonomies in WordPress using ACF or advanced custom fields. Now, I hope this tutorial has helped you understand these powerful tools and how they enhance your WordPress site. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to drop them in the comment section down below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel for more tutorials, and hit that bell icon to get notified whenever I post new content. As always, my name is Paul C. This is WPTuts, and until next time, take care.